So I would love to hear, maybe in the chat, just a phrase or sentence or two about the last few days of meditating every day, 2 hours a day, which maybe is a lot more than some of you are used to. So just what did you notice through the extra space and time given to um, kind of silence, to stillness, to awareness, cultivating awareness, both things you notice throughout the rest of your day, or maybe something you learned in the meditation, just maybe one little thing. You can write this in the chat.
Hi, Reimer. So this is Irene. I think I will just kind
Hi.
of like speak here and not write in the
Sure.
chat, if you don't mind. So during the last couple of days, I felt like a sensations of calmness. It's kind of like there is kind of inner peace and kind of like a deeper sensations that things will be okay in that sense. However, I have to say, even until this morning, when I did the morning meditations and the evening meditations, I'm still struggling to kind of like just focusing on my breath, and also yesterday evening to kind of like doing the this morning with the body scan and etc. The whole struggling are still there, and kind of like my body kind of like starts to wanting to move, or kind of like I'm still kind of like lost in thoughts. I think that's my experience so far.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, yeah, that's really nice of you to share. We are prioritizing some time every day and giving it to intending to be more still, intending to, and it's not something that we can somehow achieve in a week, or it's just something we are slowly changing the dial on. So of course there are still many thoughts. Of course the body is still a little bit restless, and this is completely normal and fine. But we don't expect this to go away like super quickly. It over time it does reduce, but also for me, if I sit 1 hour, I will be a little bit. There will be some impulses to move, or it will not be like so easy unless I'm doing more consistently, multiple hours in a day. And the same with the thinking. The thinking will always be there. Sometimes it's louder, sometimes less loud, and especially when we are practicing in the daily life. So when we are still moving about our day, going to work, interacting with people, all of that is stirring up thoughts in the mind. So that's why in meditation retreats, there's silence, and all you're doing is meditating all day. Everything is taken care of for you, the food, the accommodation. So you don't have to put any intentionality into thinking about, and you really kind of just let yourself settle into this. And then, of course, the mind is quieting a lot. But then you go out again and again, more things, more thoughts getting created. So it's really completely normal that there's still this sense. And it's actually wonderful because that's the level we're working at. We're working at, okay, there is many thoughts. We are a little bit more restless, but we are learning to be also okay with this. So also releasing the idea a little bit that the meditation needs to be, the good meditation needs to be super still, super no thoughts or something. That's just also an idea, an expectation. So whatever it is in that moment, whatever it is in that session, we are taking it. We are being with the mind and body for that hour, and it changes throughout the hour. It changes from day to day, and we are just aware of that whole process. And then just through that practice of being more aware, letting more go of this, then you're noticing, there's a little bit more sense, more space, more okayness with things. Even if you like them, if you don't like them, there's more, it's okay.
Okay, thank
Great,
you.
thank you for sharing. Very challenging towards the end every time, experiencing some repressed anger. It was as if something was screaming inside and there was discharges in the body. Maybe crazy sensations appearing in the body. Nice. So yeah, these things can happen, different phenomena happen, different emotions appearing inside the meditations. And the approach is always the same, just aware, you're aware of it, it's appearing, it's coming, then it stays, then at some point it goes. It doesn't last forever. Now it's not here anymore. It doesn't last forever. Maybe you notice the moment it disappears, maybe you just recognize after, oh, it's not here anymore. So this is also a huge component of the Vipassana practice. It's just aware and noticing the change, noticing the anicca, the impermanence of the experiences. Morphing a bit of conceptual thoughts of watching the breath. I'm not sure how to be if maintaining awareness of the breath. Okay. Keeping it simple is important. Keeping it simple. So if you're getting a little bit conceptual and is it watching the breath? Am I in the breath? Am I witnessing the breath? Is the witness the same thing as the breath? This stuff, they are just ideas, thinking about, just experience. Just keep intending to aware of the meditation objects, so now the body and the things they reveal themselves. So you don't need to think about it and solve it through thinking, you're just experiencing. And over time, the thing they're sorting out. There's the knots, the complex, the inconsistencies, the paradoxes that seem to be and are a very real part of meditation keep appearing. They are sorting themselves out. Okay. Great. Great. Thank you for sharing. So I have prepared a little bit of stuff today. There will be some more time for Q&A in the end. This is the last page. Okay. So we have our meditation practice, and you've been doing that for the last 4 days. Very, very disciplinedly, very diligently. Maybe sometimes less so, sometimes maybe you missed a session, maybe you got up early from a session. It's also okay. But you just keep resetting, you keep starting right where you are. It doesn't matter what happened in the past or how you practiced, or if you feel you need to catch up or do better or whatever, just reset all your ideas and just start again right here where you are. And so it is with the daily practice. You forget what happened, you just start anew, being open to what is in your continued formal practice. So in the first few days, we were working more with gathering the mind onto a meditation object of the breath. So to collect and gather the mind onto this kind of more continuous, more stable thing of the breath and following that. And it's not such an easy thing to do, of course. Many thoughts, many distractions appear, many urges, physical impulses, mental impulses. Some we follow, some we don't follow, some we just manage to observe. But sometimes we get the sense that, there's just a few moments maybe where we're really, the mind is gathered and collected around just being with the breath. And these moments of incredible simplicity, of settling, of relaxed being with, not being with tension and holding it, but being with in a very relaxed, light way. So these moments, they're happening more and more and starting to get deeper and deeper, and this is really the quality of samadhi, the unification, the unification, the increase of the faculty of samadhi, which means often translated as concentration or indistractability, or calm abiding, samatha. So here we work more with this continuous focus object of the breath. And there are many things which are standing in the way of this calm, collected mind. So you noticed many of these things, patterns, emotions, physical impulses, restlessness, anxiety, doubt about the practice, doubt about yourself if you can do it, doubt about if you're doing it right, dreaming about other things, liking, chasing after some imagination, some plans you need to solve, have, aversion, some irritation coming up, some anger coming up, some disliking of how this meditation is going, disliking of other ideas in your head, disliking about some things that happened in the past, anything which is kind of irritation, pushing things away. Sometimes it's more sleepiness, drowsiness that's overwhelming you. Sometimes you are just feeling lazy, like, okay, maybe it's nice to just lie down now. Maybe it's okay just to check out a little bit and dream. And this is also appearing, and it's also okay. So these things we're calling the hindrances. And I sent out something a few days ago about the hindrances. But as we are getting to recognize them earlier and more, we're starting not to follow them. Firstly, we are waking up out of them sooner. So recognizing firstly that they're happening. Oh, I am dreaming about something. Oh, I am just doubting. Oh, I'm thinking. Oh, I'm planning. Recognizing it, their presence. And sometimes they're not so present. And we're learning to recognize them earlier. And as we recognize these phenomena earlier, we don't follow them as much. It's almost like you don't fall again into the same traps of the mind, because you know where that leads, and you know it doesn't lead to the things maybe that you want. So we tilt now a little bit more towards the practice of wisdom, of getting to know ourselves, our experience. And this is really what Vipassana meditation is the central kind of, if we could call it, objective of Vipassana meditation, is to start to replace misunderstanding that we have, to replace also ignorance, to replace delusions with the right understanding, with the right wisdom, the right understanding of our experience. So this understanding is not somehow something you need to think about or keep in mind. It's more just, so as you're meditating the last few days, you are recognizing your thinking, you are recognizing your mind going, you're recognizing impulses of restlessness, and because you know where that leads, because you're just recognizing it quicker, you are not attaching to it as much, you are not holding onto it as much. There's more space, and of course they are still appearing, and it's normal, but you're learning a little bit more to see this process more clearly and coming back. So this is where we're starting to practice more with the faculty of panya, of wisdom. And recognizing that all experiences happening, they are just happening, they're just mind and body right here and now. Your construct of the future and how you're anxious about it is just a thought appearing right here. And so you keep recognizing and you keep developing this trust that you can just aware of the experience right here now. And in this manner, you are in the best position then also to act or not to act or do whatever you need. So we have classical framework of different types of wisdom, different types of panya in Buddhism. So we have this kind of level of wisdom that is heard. So wisdom or ideas that you hear from other people, that you read in a book. And these are nice ideas. Some ideas, they're making a lot of sense, especially if we trust a lot the person that is saying them. It's kind of like, okay, I agree with this. This is nice. Then there's more intellectual thinking wisdom. So then you start thinking about it. Okay, oh, what Raimar is saying about knowing myself and observing myself and collecting, gathering the mind. Okay, it's making sense logically. I can follow it. It makes sense to me that training the mind, practicing the mind, will lead here and there. I can accept this. Or maybe you form your own theories about how it works based on your background. If you have background in science, if you have more faith-based background, if you have more Western secular background, whatever it is, you are putting this into your map, your mental mind map, and making sense of it. This is also a great form of wisdom and very important. But the level that we are trying to work with in meditation is the experiential wisdom. The wisdom that comes from experience, from seeing directly, seeing in your experience the things happening, not taking my word for it, not taking your thinking, your ideas for it, but through your experience and through the direct observation. And your entire mind is watching this process, and slowly more of your mind is somehow waking up to this reality of how the experience really manifests moment to moment. So at a deeper and deeper level, it is changing the assumptions of how you relate to your experience. So for example, the idea of not reacting. This is a really nice idea. Let's not react to our experience and react with anger or pushing away or hurting people. Nice idea, and it makes sense. But then when it comes to the real situations, it's so easy just to fall into reactivity again. It just overwhelms us. Overwhelms us. When the amygdala is activated, the fear comes in, and we just start perceiving the reality so differently, and we are reacting, and we just fall into the pattern. So what we are working with is just to, in the meditation, the different things are appearing, different things we fear, different things we like, don't like, and we are just experiencing this and holding these experiences more openly. And there is changing more deeper, some habit of relating, some habit of reacting. So it's like riding a bicycle also. We cannot just talk about and hear about how to ride a bicycle. We have to really get on the bike and keep practicing and keep falling actually in order to learn how not to fall. So everything you're experiencing in your meditation is just right, it's just perfect for you. It's just what you need to experience, because those are things you keep falling into, those types of struggling, of dis-ease. Laura, we will get to that question in the end, but it's a great question. And so with this experienced wisdom, with this deep habit of non-reacting, just aware, remembering this metaphor of the mug with the dirt in it. So as we are changing more deeply this habit pattern of craving, of aversion, of pushing away, of pulling, we start to remove fundamentally some of the things that we keep stirring up, and they're getting weaker, and then they're not arising as much anymore. So for example, early on, I struggled so much with with eczema. Actually, I was talking about this yesterday. I was struggling with eczema and the stress that eczema, like rashes on the skin, were creating inside me. And through that stress, of course, the eczema was getting a lot worse, and it was the mind body is just constantly interacting, and the psychosomatic phenomena of suffering, of stress, of then the resulting effect on the body, which with eczema is very, very obvious, can be seen. And well, I had to face a lot of this in meditation retreats. I sat with a lot of itchiness, a lot of discomfort, and noticing all the ways that the mind tries to either run away, wants to scratch, wants to itch, wants to use willpower, use effort to push it away, and wants to kind of really check out and just die in that moment because it's quite unbearable. So all these ways that the mind is not being with experience. And just by continuing to just intend to be aware, and sometimes of course I fail, but it's changing the way I reacted to this phenomenon, this sensation of the itch. And then this itch, which is also psychosomatic and increasing with reactivity, is not arising as strongly anymore. And now it's almost completely gone. And sometimes it comes back, but it's also okay. So it is like this with all the phenomena that bother us. Vipassana meditation. Vipassana translates as inside. The prefix V means special or in or through, and passana is to see, to observe. So it's insight or clear seeing, practicing to see clearly our experience. This is the translation of Vipassana meditation. And it is the way that the Buddha found to meditate, to not just focus on things, to develop states of concentration, states of peace, by being very unified, collected, gathered the mind around things, but by being more openly aware and clarifying and observing the experience that we're having in the present moment clearly, without reacting, without creating anything, without manipulating the experience, just being with. So what do I mean by our experience? And this is also related to what Laura is asking about. What is the difference between thinking about experience versus observation? So a really simple frame to see this through is to work with our sensory experience at the present moment. So if we're working with our sensory experience, the present moment, we're kind of guaranteed to really work with our experience of the moment rather than thinking about. If we are thinking about experience, we will not be aware of the sensory experience. And the sensate experience extends to all the senses. So not just the sensation of touch and the feeling of the body, the soma, the somatic experience, but also the experience of hearing, the experience of seeing, the experience of tasting, touching, smelling, and noticing also the mind as a sensory experience. The sensory experience of thinking, if you can see that, is usually some image form, some hearing, maybe some self-talk, some somatic body feeling related to thinking. And if we're experiencing in this level, we are making sure that we are working with the present moment and not just thinking about experience. And of course, it is something that we are practicing to do, and so it doesn't always work. But our technique for these next few days is body scanning. And body scanning is a really wonderful technique. There's, just to be clear, there's different Vipassana techniques. Body scanning is kind of the one which is most widespread these days because of these 10-day Goenka meditation retreats. And it is a really wonderful technique. So we are kind of scanning through the body. And in this, we are making sure that we are firstly developing the sensitivity, the awareness of the entire experiential body and the entire um, the sensate experience of our body, where maybe before it's a bit more blind, we're not so connected to it. If there's trauma, we're often disconnected from the body, not able really to feel the body fully. And you'll notice that when you are more emotional, triggered, you won't be able to feel as much the body because the mind is usually disconnecting from the experience of the body. So we are scanning the body and being with the sensory experience at the present moment. And when we are really learning to be with the body and the experience of the body directly, we are learning to be both with the body and the mind. So the mind is also manifesting in the body. Even when we think, when we imagine, when we like, when we imagine something we like, when we imagine something we don't like, we react to this. There's some sensation, some sensate experience of the body. The nervous system is reflecting that, and there's some feeling of that in the body. So just in a very commonsensical way, we have these sayings, for example, oh, I feel butterflies in my stomach, I feel a pain in my heart, I feel love in my heart, and these are really experiences, and a lot of you, or probably all of you, have these experiences of embodied emotion, embodied sensation, and this happens not just with the very strong emotion, but even with the most subtle thoughts. There's some energetical reflection in the body, in the nervous system, that we can train ourselves to feel and to be with. So this is the, to deepen this awareness. This is the first component of Vipassana meditation. Deepen the awareness of the experience. So then when something is triggering us, we stop thinking about it, but we are just being with the experience of it here in the body. And the second component of Vipassana meditation is the equanimity. The being with the experience without reacting to it, without pushing, pulling, trying to manipulate it, trying to make it go away, wanting to be different, wanting it to stay longer if it's pleasant. Just being with what is just a moment. So this is so important, these two pillars, to keep balancing them. If we are very aware, we can be very sensitive. But if there's no equanimity, no just being with the thing in a balanced, open way, then we are reacting. We are wanting it to be different. There's a lot of equanimity if there's a lot of everything is okay, everything is perfect, but we're not aware of the things, then we can somehow check out also. We can be disconnected from the experience. We can go into dreaminess, we can become drowsy, sleepy, and through that there's equanimity, but there's no awareness of the experiences. So we're balancing awareness and equanimity in the practice. So equanimity, the word, comes from inner balance. I think it's a Greek word. To maintain this inner balance. And just to get a feeling for equanimity, I want us to kind of take your upright spine, your little bit your meditation posture, and now becoming aware of your hands, and keep your hands nice and relaxed, and aware of the heart space, the heart. And now you're just going to kind of make a gesture, posture slowly, where you just open your hands in front of you, almost like you're welcoming. You're opening your chest through this slowly. And you're just kind of holding openly the space, open hearts, open hands, with a sense of yourself, with a sense of your body and the connection to the ground, but also a sense of opening to what is in front of you in a relaxed, non-judgmental way. So whether something now is appearing, whether something would be in front of you that you don't like, or whether you like it, you are maintaining this inner posture of just being with what is, acceptingly. So, and then the thing, and just waiting with patience like this, with whatever experience you have. And sometimes you will feel yourself contract, you will feel yourself react, but you're just returning to this. So this is a little bit a taste of equanimity. Okay, you can return to normal. So yeah, with this technique of body scanning the sensations, we are rewiring the way we are being with experience. So usually when there's different events happening outside, inside, different thoughts, different things happening on the things we like, someone saying something we like, someone saying something we don't like, some situation going the way we wanted to, something we expected happening, something we expected didn't happen. We like it, we don't like it. We're reacting in this way. And then we try to fix the things, we try to change situations. Maybe we don't, maybe we get upset in the mind. And this is the usual frame. Okay, then I shouldn't react to events on the outside. This is the basic framework. But the Buddha found that there's many things happening in between the thing happening on the outside and then a reaction to that. There's a few things, few subtle details there, which the Buddha examined within his experience and found these links, the links of dependent origination, the paticca samuppada, he calls this. And this is a simplified version, but when something is happening in the outside world, there's the perception of it. There's the recognition of that event. So, for example, a person is saying something, the hearing is coming into the ear sense. There's some perception, there's some recognition of that sound. It's getting categorized, getting labeled in the mind, and ideas being put there. It's being compared to the past experiences, recognizing who it's being said by, and that perception of it, in that perception in that moment is still neutral. There's just a categorization of it. But then there's a sensation. There's Vedana, which we call in Pali, the sensation, the nervous system reacting to that perception that is being made in the mind of that situation. And that reaction in the nervous system, sometimes it's pleasant, sometimes it's unpleasant, sometimes it's neutral. This Vedana. These sometimes it's very intensely pleasant, sometimes very intensely unpleasant. Maybe if someone says something you don't like. So there is some sensation in the body, and we can, usually we're not so aware of these sensations, they're happening, but as we develop the awareness, we can really see this happening, and see this happening in even the most subtle, the most neutral things, like the sound of a chair creaking creates some sensation in the body, very subtle sensation. The sound of a bird chirping actually also creates some sensation in the body, very subtle sensation. The thought of, hey, I should move my head to the right, create some sensation in the body before the movement happens. So it gets very subtle. So the nervous system is reflecting these perceptions. And our reaction in response to that is not really to the thing on the outside, is to the reaction that we feel, the liking, the disliking, the craving, aversion, is in reaction to this sensation, in the nervous system. So we're reacting somehow to ourselves, to our own body, mind. And then that reaction of liking, disliking, then of course manifests in thought, intention, maybe speech, maybe action into the outside world. So it's a great thing to practice loving kindness, to be non-reactive in the ordinary sense, but to really work at a deep level. We are working with the sensation, the Vedana, to not react to the Vedana and to change this habit pattern of reacting and with liking and disliking, essentially, and just being with the thing openly in equanimity. Yes, so this is happening very quickly every moment, and we don't have to go so deep to start to feel changes. Just when we start simply right here, right now, where we are, even if we're very distracted, we're already starting to shift this pattern. Yes. So these are this is the task, the principles, awareness, and equanimity. And the technique is the scanning of the body sensations. And yeah, to sit for the hour and to learn simply about how this body and mind is working, manifesting. Great questions. Okay, let's work with the question. Firstly, thinking about versus observing. So working with the sensory experience of it. And I wouldn't think of this as something binary, like, oh, I'm either thinking about it or observing it. It's more of a spectrum. Like you can, and the progress is really to be with the things more and more directly. And of course, there's still a lot of conceptualization, still a lot of recognition and perception and thinking about it happening, but less and less, and more we are just being with the experience. So when you're scanning the body, just feeling as it is, the sensation wherever you are in the scan. You're really feeling the sensation, the experience of it in the present moment. Okay. The sensory experience keeps registering in mind as observe, which is a thought. As more connected to the body with the mind, maybe the observed thought feeling will be a bit different in experience of the observed. Okay, I'm not sure I understand this question. Laura, I would say that see if you can keep it more simple. So it seems you like to really think about, and it's great to inquire to these things. Am I witnessing? Am I feeling with the mind more with the body? But know that all this layers, all this extra thinking about is not necessarily helping you in the right direction of being with it. So it is through experiencing that and just through intending to be with the experience more directly, really the sensate experience, that you will get more of a feel for what is really the observation of it. And so just as I guide you in the meditation, just intend to somehow fill out the awareness of the body, and using less visualizing the body, using less verbalizing the body, about where you are in the scan, and using different visual techniques. I'm visualizing a scanning tool, and visualizing something. All this stuff is also extra, can help, but trying to drop this extra stuff and just being with the experience more directly. Yes, the pain is in the body, and the mind is registering the sensation. So actually, body and mind is always appearing as pairs. There's a sensation of the body, and there's the mind knowing it. There's the hearing, and there's the mind knowing it. But body and mind always appearing in pairs, but you don't need to go to that level. Just be aware of the experience, and that's enough. Equanimity is a bit of a curious presence, being present with what is. Yes, yeah, that's really nice. Curiosity is a really nice word. Yeah, it's not ambitious, it's just curiosity to kind of to be with, and be, what is this? What is this? So a nice prompt is also, what is this? What is this? Or what now? What now? How does discernment and wise action come in life if not reacting? And how does equanimity and non-reactiveness differ from people who seem to not be animated and alive with emotional spectrum? Great. Of course. Yes, so this is important because equanimity is not apathy. It is not distance. It is not kind of checking out, detached way of being. It is, and it can be this common thing for meditators to go into that. And I think also for me, there was a period where had this idea about equanimity and not reactiveness, and so I thought I had to be more passive and more not an agent anymore, and not non-emotional. But actually, I feel now I'm much more emotional, and there's many emotions appearing, because letting them appear. And it's not about not having emotions, it's about how we are being with that emotion. And sometimes we can express it, sometimes we can just sit with it. But there's this choice and space to be with the things how you want to be with them. So we are learning a little bit to ride the waves of emotions, to ride the waves and to be present with however strong the thing is, whether it's very intensely pleasant, whether it's very intensely unpleasant. So it's not about having the emotion, not having the emotions. We are human, we have emotions. And it's about being able to hold them, stay present with them, to embody them, to feel them. So if you're experiencing sadness, grief, it's not you're running away from this, it's not you're not expressing this grief, you are allowing yourself to fully be this grief, the sadness, feeling it very deeply. And then the integration work is, of course, how to then relate that to also in relationship, with people. And now I'm in a partnership and working a lot with this, and because usually I'm used to dealing with my emotions on my own, so now I'm working a lot with how do I share this? How do I share this without dumping it on the other person, without becoming a victim to my emotion and needing the other person to solve it for me, or neediness. But how do I also not just withdraw and try to hold it all myself and not share it in this partnership? So finding that balance of, yeah, I can let myself be weak, I can let myself be in this, and but still have the awareness of that I'm not losing it, I'm not needing something, I'm not falling into an unbalanced state of mind, even within the emotion. The last question is, the observations always seem to be a registration of the experience in the mind as a thought, as a labeling or a description. I'm not sure how to simplify that out. That's okay. So it's normal. The thinking mind is active. It's labeling or describing the event that's happening, the sensation. And it's actually a different technique also to use labels. I also work a lot with this technique to label experience, but really and that's okay. That's the perception part of the mind, the recognition part of the mind working, and that's okay, as long as we're not labeling it and then starting to think about that label and the implications and creating more layers on that. But we are working with the label, and that label is just the recognition of what's happening in the present moment. So then experiences continue to happen, the sensations continue to happen throughout the body, and we're just being with that moment to moment. So the label is not an abstraction into time or space. It's just being with the experience. And in order to, you can allow this perception recognition part of the mind to quieten by just intending to focus more in the direct sensory experience, and then the labeling or describing will slowly over time get more quiet. Yes, Adam, you raise your hand. Sorry, you already did that before, but I forgot.
Yeah, it's okay. Thanks. No, I just raised my hand now because I had a really funny insight yesterday and today, and I wanted to share it like in 5 seconds. What you just explained, for the first time in my life, I realized we talk about the breath so much. So focus on the breath, meditate with the breath. And when I was doing it yesterday and today, I realized, hey, what is this breath everybody's talking about? I call it breath, but it's actually something happening to me, it's something happening automatically. And I learned to call it breath in several languages. But what is this name even, for the very first time? And I was so, it was very funny and exciting. I hope you understand what I'm talking about, this conceptualization of what's happening to me. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Great. Yeah, this is starting to happen. So the recognizing that the experience of it is different than the idea of it, the concept of it. So yeah, you're attending more to questioning what is this breath really, and experiencing the breath not as an idea, but as something that's happening to you right here, right now. And then the concept seems strange. The concept seems like an abstraction, something else of that. That's because the concept is thinking. It is the mind which has created some idea of the breath based on past experiences and created a label around it and created an idea. And it's like a model, and use that idea of the breath to talk about it, to think about the breath. It's like an echo, a shadow of the breath. But what is the breath really? The experience of the breath is something that's happening right now. And it is the same with all of our ideas. So it's great we have ideas, we can do stuff. I can talk to you about meditation, but the only place where we can experience is right here, right now, in your own experience. I'm talking, I'm using ideas, I'm using delusions to convey some idea, packaging my mind, my way of seeing my thing, packaging it, sending it over, hopefully trying to create some picture in your head of how this is working. But the only place, and that's why we need to practice, is in your experience. So we have the space and time, 2 hours a day, to make our experience. And this is really what is shaping and teaching us. Great. Thank you for sharing that, Adam. Okay. Is there anything else anyone would like to share, ask? Talked a lot. Wow, the light is becoming bright. Thank you. Okay. Take care.
Thank you.
I wish you a wonderful practice. Tomorrow there is more Q&A time. And good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.